The Office of the Special Prosecutor says it is investigating not less than 132 suspected corruption and corruption-related offenses, which are at various levels of consideration. The OSP lists some of the cases to involve former Minister of State at the Finance Ministry, Charles Ibrahim, whose case was referred for investigation by President Akufo-Addo following Tiger IPI's documentary, Galamsey Economy, as well as a probe into the estate of the late New Patriotic Party Kingpin Kwejo Usofriye, also known as Sir John, which is alleged to contain the controversial bequeathing of portions of state lands at Achimota Forest in Accra to his family members. These are more and more were contained in a half-year report shared by the Office of the Special Prosecutor. Let's bring you highlights of that report. And just as you see on the screens, the office has concluded investigations into allegations of the use of public office profits against Charles Bithu during his tenure as secretary to the erstwhile Inter-Ministerial Committee on Illegal Mining, arising from an investigative documentary titled Galamsey Fraud Part 1, published by Tiger IPI and the investigative journalist Anas Arimeya Anas. A special prosecutor or an authorized officer will issue directives and further action on the matter in due course. Those are excerpts of that report. On the case of Charles Ibrahim, upon a referral by President of the Republic by a letter dated 14th November, the office commenced investigation into suspected corruption and related offenses in respect of Charles Ibrahim, a former Minister of State at the Ministry of Finance. The corruption allegations are contained in an investigative documentary titled Galamsey Economy, published by Tiger PI and investigative journalist Anas Arimeya Anas. Now, it says that there's also the office has commenced investigation into allegations of an attempt by an unnamed and wealthy businessman to bribe some members of the majority caucus of Parliament. The office triggered a liaison with the Office of the Speaker of Parliament in this regard. You may have followed that conversation where the members of Parliament accused the wealthy businessman of trying to influence majority members of Parliament not to call for the sack of Ken Ofori-Atta. And those are some of the cases that the special prosecutor is investigating. On illegal mining, it's targeted some officials of the Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources and Forestry Commission. It also targets the activities and expenditure of the dissolved Inter-Ministerial Committee on Illegal Mining, especially in respect of the seizure and management of excavators, machinery, road vehicles, and gold nuggets. The investigation further targets the activities of Akonta Mining Limited. You may have seen that there's a release by the coalition of media against illegal mining on that and other companies. Nationals of foreign countries allegedly involved in illegal mining and allegations of corruption, corruption-related offenses against some municipal and district chief executives. Now, it says on the estate of Kwejo Usofriye, also known as Sir John, investigation is ongoing in respect of alleged improper acquisition of state-protected land at the Achimota Forest Enclave and the Sakumono Ramsar site by the deceased former chief executive of the Forestry Commission. Now, following the refusal by the High Court to affirm the freezing order issued by the Special Prosecutor, the office appealed to the Court of Appeal Civil Division Accra for a reversal of the decision of the High Court to facilitate the investigation and final resolution on the matter. So all these are cases that it is dealing with. It has one on ECG, it has one on Ghana Water Company. It says the office has commenced investigation in suspected corruption and related offenses in respect of contracts awarded by Ghana Water Company Limited for the provision of goods and services to the following entities: Nayak 96 Enterprise, Dencom Construction, Edmonds Limited, Jomax, and a number of them, as you can see on your screens. It has done same for the ECG. Now there's one, Republic versus Ajeni Mboateneje, and another, the trial of former Chief Justice of Public Procurement Authority, and you know how that was unveiled. Anas our own Manasseh Azuriah-Wuni did a documentary, and so his brother-in-law is also pending before the Criminal Division of the High Court. Mr. J has been charged with 8 counts of using public office for profits and 9 counts of directly and indirectly influencing the procurement process to obtain an unfair advantage in the award of public contracts. While his brother-in-law has been charged with 1 count of using public office for profit, Ejenim Boateng himself has also been charged with 2 other counts for that. Now, the trial of Alexander Kwabena Safo Kantanka, he's a president nominee for the position of Chief Executive of Joabin Municipal Assembly in the Ashanti region. That's also pending before the Criminal Division of the High Court. Mr. Safo Kantanka has been charged with 26 counts of corruption in respect of a public election. So you can see a number of the cases that the special prosecutor is dealing with, and it's all contained in that half-year report that it's released on the work of the Office of the Special Prosecutor. Well, for the Special Prosecutor, although the country abhors corruption and corruption-related activities, he questions the country's commitment to fighting the menace. Speaking on Newsfile last week, Mr. Kisei Jabing himself expressed doubts about Ghana's preparedness to fighting corruption. Listen.
Fight against corruption. Let us see in real food. Let us see that in real support for the anti-corruption. Once again, from where I sit, I do not see much. And to the oversight institutions, and by this I'm referring to Parliament, I'm referring to the courts. Are we ready for the fight against corruption? Once again, I do not see much. How many referrals Parliament made, for instance, to the anti-corruption agency when they discover a work corrupt activity and corruption-related activities around us? I have not seen much. And the courts and fellow lawyers who have been ascended onto the bench, are we ready for the fight against corruption? Are we helping the anti-corruption agency? Are we partnering the anti-corruption agency? Are we putting the cases right? Or are we engaged once again in our own predilection? Or is it our design to frustrate the work of the anti-corruption agency? Are we ready for the fight against corruption? The civil society, are we pushing enough? Are we? Are we calling out people who should be responsible in the fight against corruption well? Are we calling out the government effectively? Are we calling out the oversight institutions effectively? Are we, civil society sphere, efficiently doing the work in respect of the fight against corruption? Ask ourselves. We should reflect on this. And the citizens, are we ready for the fight against corruption? I do not think so.
Well, let's stay longer on the subject of corruption and the Office of the Special Prosecutor, his work so far, and the relevance of the office itself in meeting its mandates as at now. Now, he himself, as you may have heard him speak right now, he says that he doesn't even have the confidence that the country really want to fight corruption. Edem Senanu is an anti-corruption campaigner. He joins me with, I'm grateful for your time, Mr. Senanu. First, let me gauge your mood on the health report that has been released by the special prosecutor, especially hearing from himself who casting doubt on whether the country really wants to fight corruption?
Well, thank you. It's always good when the mandated institutions of state are able to fulfill the obligations that they have been given. And under the law, it's required every 6 months to update the public as to what is going on. And so first, commendations that the Office of the Special Prosecutor has released in a timely manner this report so that we have a sense of what is going on. It's disappointing to the extent that the office has not received the kind of support it ought to have, especially when this is the brainchild of the current government and a flagship one at that. And you can see from the report that they have several cases, but if you want to talk about those that have active results to report on, just a few. Obviously, that is a measure of the level of staffing and capacity at the moment. It clearly demonstrates a lack of serious commitment to this fight on the part of government. And it will be good to unpack, especially when he's spoken to it, to find out which agencies in government are not, as it were, providing the level of collaboration to get speed on some of the things that would make the office more effective and more capable of executing its mandate. So those would be my initial thoughts.
Let's look at the about 132 cases that is currently before the Office of the Special Prosecutor to deal with. We have very sensitive cases. We can talk about the case of Sir John. We can talk about the case of Ibrahim. We can talk about the PPA boss and the decision by the High Court, a number of them. We can talk about Charles Bisu and all the issues. How does it come across to you that the Office of the Special Prosecutor hasn't been able to bring closure to these critical matters?
Well, I think that first of all, we need to be a little measured in our expectations. I think that it is good to have in the public space a listing of the various cases and activities that the office is undertaking. Because you see, whether we like it or not, there are those who are actively engaged in masterminding such things who will pay notice that this has not just been shrouded or hidden away, but such activities are now finding space under the OSP, and that the OSP is taking a keen look into them. And at some point, even if we don't have any cases that have been brought to closure, there will be closure, there will be sanctions, and potentially people will be going to jail, monies retrieved, etc. It begins to set the tone for people to be less ambitious in getting themselves engaged in such issues of graft. So, whereas we may not have as many cases concluded, persons found culpable and jailed and sanctioned, I think that just keeping these cases in the public space, giving us an update on how they are going, saying we are investigating and listing companies who may have gotten contracts by illegitimate means. All of that begins to send a certain message. What is important is that the support to get these cases done as quickly as possible. And I would, on that score, be hoping that the judiciary, the Chief Justice, Justice Enimyeboah, or if you took Parliament, Mr. Alban Bagbin, should take note of what the OSP is saying. Create a platform to engage on what can we do better to help that office execute its mandate and do so more effectively and efficiently so that we can make some progress.
So before now, one of the issues we've been dealing with has been resourcing the Office of the Special Prosecutor so he can do his job well. We know that hasn't happened. we've been hit recently by the fact that the special prosecutor himself hasn't been paid for about 18 months, plus some of his officers. What does all of these do to the fight against corruption?
Obviously, it weakens the capacity. Let me point out that the level of remuneration of the office of the special prosecutor is not in doubt. It is of Article 71 reference benchmark, and so the quantum is not something that is debatable or in dispute. My understanding is that it's the salary structure for the rest of the staff, which in terms of the proposals has been a bit lower than the office expected, especially in the context of other public services. And so the challenge was that you cannot attract quality officers into the space, because already there are risks if you get into that kind of job and people know. So on one part, it's not that the government has not offered, but they've not been able to agree on what that level should be for and what the salary structure should be and the levels should be, because the special prosecutor is demanding more, and justifiably so, in order that he can attract the quality of staff required for that office. So it weakens. The bottom line is this. Ideally, we should not have a situation where the special prosecutor has to even be making these arguments or trying to make a compelling basis for these things. If this is a flagship initiative, government itself should understand the issues and be at the forefront of making sure that the resources are made available.
So you actually agree that the staff at the Office of Special Prosecutor should be well paid, just as is captured in that report, so that they are not compromised?
No, because otherwise then the people you are trying to catch sometimes are giving, they have 10 times, 20 times, 100 times more to give you. Some of the staff will just check their responsibilities. Because in any case, it's not just about doing the job. It's also about the risks that you put yourselves to. From time to time, some of them have to disappear because intelligence may say, somebody is thinking of doing something. So it's not a job that, is run of the mill and you should treat it with kids' gloves. So you ought to make sure the compensation is enough to make the people think that I want to do this and I'll do it with all my heart. I'll apply myself to it.
Ms. Ansen, let me ask you this final one, and it's my favorite question. Do you see that there's a political will to actually fight corruption?
Not at the moment. And I say that in the context of the campaigning in 2015, 2016, and what we're told. In fact, I'm dreading the next year or two when we get back into the political season. I'm thinking that all of us as citizens, media, civil society, need to take a magnifying glass to these politicians who just come and say anything. It's like it's a business for them. They invest, and then immediately after, they don't care about the aspirations of the people or the development agenda. No, I don't see the political will. There probably are a few people who are serious about this. And my advice to OSP and the rest of us is let's identify those who can be part of a coalition of the willing to bring change. Let's try and engage those at the highest echelons of the three arms of government who we think are committed, and see how we can get new strategies to deal with this. Otherwise, it's a slippery slope, and we seem to be running down that slope without much work to try and restrict the slide into total chaos and more corruption.
Mr. Tenano, I'm grateful for your time this morning. He's an anti-corruption campaigner. He's co-chair of the Coalition Against Corruption, and he's been speaking anti-corruption movement, citizens movement against corruption, and he's been speaking about the half-year report which was produced and published by the Office of the Special Prosecutor. Let's go on to other issues. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Regional Integration has thrown its weight behind some directives issued by the Ghana Airports Company Limited to protect the country and its citizens against an upsurge in COVID-19 cases. According to the Ghana Airport Company Limited, passengers arriving in Ghana from China will be required to undergo mandatory COVID-19 testing on arrival at the Kotoka International Airport at no cost. Now, the Ghana Airport Company Limited added the passengers originating their journey from China will be required to present a valid negative COVID-19 PCR test results 48 hours prior to departure from the originating country. Backing this stance in a new press release, the ministry urged the public to take the necessary precautions when traveling to China. It further stressed that only essential travel should be undertaken until further notice. Since November last year, China has witnessed a surge in cases after the lifting of its most severe restrictions. But the latest official figures appear to show a relatively low number of new daily cases. However, there are concerns that these numbers are underestimated due to recent reduction in COVID testing. The government reported only 2,097 new daily cases on Sunday. Epidemiologist Wu Zhongyong has said he believes the current spike in infections will run until mid-January, while a second wave would then be triggered by mass travel in January around the week-long Lunar New Year celebrations, which begins on 21st January. Millions of people usually travel at this time to spend the holiday with family. He claims that a third surge in cases would run from late February to mid-March as people return to work after the holiday. Now, due to this, a number of countries have announced new entry restrictions on travelers from China, while others, including Italy and Japan, require a negative test on arrival. Some countries attributed a change to China's lack of information on genome sequencing and COVID-19 variants. Away from COVID, let's do some education. Management of the University of Ghana has dared persons criticizing the school to take them to court if they think the school's new fee charges is illegal. There's been public outcry over the latest 15% fees and charges approved for universities by Parliament, but the University of Ghana has been specifically called out for implementing the 15% in addition to what the school calls a 5% backlog. Reacting to criticisms, Pro-Vice Chancellor Professor Gordon Awandari says the increment is justified and they're ready to challenge anybody who thinks otherwise in court.
To the university to look at how we can soften the blow. Yeah, we'll consider our SRC and our student leaders met us and made some of those appeals, especially for fee paying and some of the special programs where the costs are high. And we are taking steps on some of those, okay? Some of the special programs, in fact, we've reduced some of the fees subsequently, all right? But to go on air and start talking about illegal increase and all that, that's the complete approach for any student to take because there's nothing illegal. If you feel there's an illegality, the court is there, we'll meet you there. Okay, so we're ready to listen to appeals for how we can make it more palatable for students to take. But we are not tolerating any accusations of illegality. Like I said, our doors are open. We have flexible payment plans. We have student financial aid office. There are many, many ways to manage the increase. But the way we will not tolerate is accusations of illegality. So please, let's talk in a positive way. Let's find a way of softening the blow for parents, but let's not talk about illegalities.
Away from the University of Ghana, the concerned Summer Boy Youth Association have threatened to oppose a contact mining company should they venture into Summer Boy to mine. The group is warning that they will not watch their community continuously exploited by individuals for their personal gains to the detriment of the people. These were revealed at a press conference by the group held in Summer Boy. There's more in this report.
Any other thing but to give a brief of what the happenings in and around the Summer Boy community and its environs. We have come here, or we've called on you at this very moment, because we think it is right that around this time we should let the authorities, people in authority, be aware of the current happenings in Samaboy, that its repercussion will not be very good for the people of Samaboy. What are we talking about? Last year there was an incident that happened here in Samaboy, that a company that calls itself a Akonta Mining Company invaded the Tanonumre Forest, which is a forest reserve under the management of Samates Timber and Plywood Company. They invaded and engaged in the forest, what we call galamsey, the illegal mining. And the people of Samaboy are our livelihoods depend on the existence of this company, which is the Samates Timber and Plywood Company. We could not sit and watch aloof whilst they degrade the forest, which is the main source of the raw material for this very company. And so we called on authorities. We expected that people in authority would take a swift response to it and then kept the actions that was ongoing. But it took us, company was even shoot out of the reserve. And so before the company was even the company exited, we realized that they had destroyed hectares of the forest, which for us we see it's not to be right. And so we have gathered here based on our intelligence that we've gathered this afternoon, that the same company that came about some months ago, that the people of Samaboy were not satisfied with, have plans underway to invade the forest right again. And so we want people in authority, people that can listen and take action against the illegality, to be aware. We are prompting them to be aware that this same company is just around, and plans are far advanced that they will invade the forest sooner or later. That is what we, the people of Samaboy, have gathered here, and we want the people in authority to know that we will oppose it with full force. We will oppose it with full force, and that we will not relent on fighting the company any iota of our blood. So we want to draw the attention of people in authority, the pressmen, to come to our aid. We have to let this unscrupulous company know that the activity is illegal, and that we will not allow it today, and we will not allow it tomorrow.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. We shall fight and fight and fight till we get them out of here.
Yes.
The company is still around here. They are still around here, destroying people's cocoa farms. They are around here, destroying subsistence farms, and that we know that people in authority are aware that the company is still around here, and we were expecting them to have taken action by now. As we speak now, the company that we talk about is still around here, and we will not allow in any way for them to enter the forest reserve again.
Electricity is such an essential service. Many societies cannot develop without them. Development in some communities, including Fuveme in the Volta region, has been affected greatly because for so many years of its existence, they were not connected to the national grid. MP for Anglo constituency Richard Kwame Sepe has extended electricity to the community, and residents are ecstatic. There's more in this report.
Imagine your life without electricity. How boring and unproductive. Well, Fuveme in the Volta region has been hammered in the last few years by tidal waves. The community is gradually being washed away, but they've also been lacking joy and electricity. Akoli Simon Peter is a unit committee member and has been living in Fuveme for all its 40 years of existence without electricity. Through the efforts of MP for Anglo Richard Kwame Sepe, he and other members of the community can have access to what some may call basics like iced water and ice cream.
Electricity has changed a lot of situation in our life right now. Because formerly when there is no electricity, we suffer a lot. Some people don't know how we call television. But now when light comes out, a lot of people are seeing movies and everything. Even all the things that is going in the country. Some people have not seen the president before, but now when the light comes, they have seen the president. They don't see the MPs talk in parliament before, but because of electricity, you see how MPs battle in the parliament. So electricity has changed a lot. Some people also buy fridge. We are enjoying ice cream and chill water, and chill drink too. So as for me, I'm very happy. Every day I'm watching movies on TV.
Other residents are hopeful that with electricity being extended to the area, they can have entertainment and improve teaching and learning.
Initially, there was no light over here. So when we want to charge our phone, we normally go Anyangwi, almost 5 kilometers. So sometimes it takes most of our times. And when we go over there, they charge us. And because we overcrowded for charging, sometimes your phone will not charge well. And sometimes due to that, some of us, our phone got missing. And but when, luckily through the MP and Honorable there, now it's reduced our time, their cost, and at the same time, you have changed our life. Because especially like the recently game they have played, when they are playing game like World Cup, other games, some of us, we are very interested on that. So we have to work our way to Anglaga and other communities that have light. But recently when the lights come, some of us, we just enjoy it to our nearby in our house, and it helps us.
The MP, Richard Kwame Sefe, explains that he did this with the support of Togbu Afede and is calling for more support to extend electricity to other communities in his constituency.
I never thought that a day like this would come where the people of Fuvama will also enjoy electricity, because the place has been cut off as a result of the tidal waves. But thank God, Togbu Afede, the 14th, gave us, with the affected communities, 100,000 Ghana cedis that I decided to use 60,000 out of it to stream light from Atiteti, that's the nearest community, to Fuvama, where we are. And when I started, the people were not sure that it will come to fruition. Here we are. We came to do this about a few months ago, and we want to see the impact assessment.
So for many of you who live in metropolitan communities, Accra, Tamale, Kumasi and Takrade, electricity is not such a big deal for you. But for communities like this, Atiteti, Fuvama in the Volta region, for over 50 years of their existence, they have not had the opportunity to feel and use electricity. Indeed, some of the basic items that you feel are just basic, are a luxury here. This community and its members can now dream, can now see and eat ice cream, because some community members have now fridges in their homes which they use to produce some of these things. And the community members are excited. They are grateful to the MP for the community, Honorable Richard Kwame Sepe, who together with the board chair of SAS, Togbu Afede, who is also a traditional leader, have been able to extend electricity to these areas. Of course, they are asking for more, like Oliver Twist. They are saying that adjoining communities should also get something so that they can all share in this newfound success. Reporting for JoyNews, Kweku Asante, Atiteti, Fuvama in the Volta region.
We take a break on JoyNews Desk. We'll be back with more. Welcome back to JoyNews Desk. To the rest of our stories, the Police Motor Transport and Traffic Department, MTTD, says that data gathered between December 24 to 26 last year showed the country recorded more road crashes during the 2022 Christmas festivities than in 2021. Latest statistics from the MTTD shows total number of cases recorded last year was 142 compared to 133 in 2021. The statistics also showed more vehicles were involved in crashes in 2022. In fact, 255 vehicles were involved in accidents last year compared to 218 in 2021. The MTTD report also indicates that a total of 214 people were injured from crashes in 2022, an increase of 45.27% from 2021, when 148 injuries were recorded. Last year, 25 people were killed in road accidents, 3 more than what was recorded in 2021. Kwame Kodria Itwahene is Director of Compliance at the National Road Safety Authority. He joins me live for a conversation on this. Mr. Kodria, I'm grateful for your time this morning.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Great. So all these are happening in a year that we made a lot of progress. I mean, compared to last year. What really happened?
Well, as expected, during the festive season, when there's increase in motorization, there's a tendency for these numbers to slightly surge up. That's why we tend to intensify our efforts during the critical last week or two of the year. And even though we are yet to analyze critically the causative of the particular incidents which we have taken some of the numbers of here, comfort or relative comfort is that beyond the deaths which had reduced marginally, the impact could have been worse, but for our increased visibility and collaboration with other partners like the police in other parts of the country.
Mr. Twine, can you speak up a bit so we can actually hear what you're saying?
Yes, I'm saying that when you look at the numbers carefully, one, it may be too early for us to be able to try to query and understand exactly what happened with the incidents that they have accounted for, the 9 in Accra, the 5 in Central Region, and the 4 in Bono. It is instructive that you notice that most of the regions, most of the 16 regions over the period recorded 0 deaths. But for 3 or 4, the situation would have been different. We are just coming back from the break, and we'll take the trouble to analyze those particular numbers very carefully. But, all in all, when you put it in perspective, beyond the number of crashes that went up marginally over the period, and vehicle involvement, which was expected because there's more travel during the last 2 weeks of the year. The deaths, 3 or 10%, relatively encouraging. And together with the general outlook for 2022, we intend to appraise the output, take some gains from the reduction throughout the year and try to build up into 2023. We need to sustain the gain, and that's exactly what we'll be seeking to do in the coming weeks.
How would you assess the work of the Road Safety Authority, the police, and all other stakeholders over the period?
Well, I think that this year or last year was quite encouraging to the point that from January to November, on a month-to-month basis, 11 months on the trot, there was reduction in all major indicators throughout the year. It's not happening in recent times. It is because there are a number of things we are beginning to do differently. The key targets of our actions are beginning to appreciate that sometimes their conduct hurts all of us. And it is important that we begin to work together. And I, for mention, if I want to be particular, in Accra, for instance, it was uncommon for you to observe that motor riders were yielding to traffic at intersections. But over the last 3 to 4 months, as a result of our collaboration with the police and also the Postal and Courier Services Regulatory Commission and other allied stakeholders, the guys were beginning to appreciate the need to put on the helmet and to stop at intersections. And once they begin to stop at intersections, it makes it more safer for pedestrians. Because in the past, when the light turned red for the cyclist and he drives on, he goes to interfere with the pedestrian use, because the light would have turned green for a pedestrian to cross the road. And so when the police introduced the police invisible eye and the police action against rider indiscipline with our support, I think it's beginning to yield some returns along those lines, and we must escalate it. On the operator front, I mean, today may be too early to analyze the data for 2022. But you notice also that in 2021, when we issued the 5 directives to operators, especially those flying the intercity services, directed that is used to drivers for long distance, begin to use logbooks and the rest of them. We wouldn't say we have achieved 100% success. Indeed, as of June of last year, a performance or compliance rate was just about 40%. But the mindset that they are beginning to appreciate that, well, it cannot be business as usual, that even though we are in this space for profit, we must begin to imbibe a certain sense of orientation, do things differently. I believe it's beginning to account for some improvements within that segment of the target or the market.
Mr. Kwame Etuahine, I'm grateful for your time. He's head of compliance at the National Road Safety Authority. Let's take a break on JoyNews Desk. When we return, we'll bring you some sports on News Desk. Time now for sports. Lawrence Bedo is here with the very latest. Hello, Aisha. The English Premier League. Yeah. How did it go?
The most exciting league in the world aside the Ghana. You hear that?
All right. Why that?
No, the Ghana Premier League is the most exciting. But yeah, yesterday some matches in the EPL were played. Manchester United seemed to be finding their mojo back, but yesterday they won by 3-0 against Bournemouth. This is an interesting thing about Manchester United. I think one man that has come into the team who has had a bit of stability or has added stability to the team has got to be Casemiro. When he was leaving Real Madrid, people said he was coming for a paycheck, he was coming to take the money. But then you look at the kind of football Casemiro has played all season since making his debut. It tells you that he's enjoying life at Old Trafford. And then he was one of the goal scorers last night when Manchester United beat Bournemouth. Another player who was on the score sheet was Marcus Rashford, who scored in 3 consecutive league goals now. In other results, Arsenal were held to a 0-0 draw against Newcastle United. Newcastle United have been one of the surprise packages this season. After having new owners, they seem to be playing some good football. And it's not surprising that they currently occupy the 3rd position on the league table. In the past years, probably you find Newcastle around the mid-table, mid-position, but now they seem to be a strong force for the top 4 sides, because at the moment, the top 4 is made up of Arsenal, Manchester City, Newcastle, and then Manchester United. So even Tottenham, Liverpool, and then Chelsea are all out of the top 4 race. Brighton is also another team that it's proven to be stubborn. They've beaten some of the top 4 clubs this season. And then yesterday, they beat a struggling Everton side. I say a struggling Everton side because since the league resumed, Everton hasn't found that bit of luck on their side. Probably the only positive that they have found so far has been the 1-1 draw against Manchester City, because you expected a thumping against Manchester City side that has so many stars in their squad. So that was the bit of luck. Yesterday they were on the back foot as they suffered a 4-1 defeat to Brighton. Brighton, this is the first win for them this year. They are looking to also continue from where they left off last year, because remember they had a good start to the 2022-23 season, and then they looked to probably be in the top 6. But then they dropped, and then it looks as if things were getting out of hand. Change of managers, because Graham Potter moved to Chelsea, and then they brought in De Zerbi. De Zerbi has now found his foot, and then Brighton are playing some good football at the moment.
Right.
Before we go, there's also Fulham.
Okay.
Normally, when a team gets promoted to the Premier League, you expect them to be the struggling side. But Fulham is changing the narrative. Yes, it's only 18 games played. Some have played 17. But Fulham are proving to be a tough nut to crack, because they currently occupy the 7th position for a team that just got promoted and don't have too many stars. It's a bit surprising, but early days yet. But they still stand a chance of surviving. At this moment, they should be on course to survive relegation and play in the Premier League next season.
I'm happy you say it's early days yet, so we wait to see how it all goes. And that'll be it for sports. Thank you, Lawrence Beidou, for bringing us sports. And that'll be it for News Desk this morning. Many thanks for watching. My name is Aisha Ibrahim. Log on to myjoyonline.com. There's more of the news there. See you again at 12.